So right now we're going to talk about circles and bending, and then we'll do some counter bending and some leg yielding for you. So we've taught this in class, but because we're teaching remotely, we thought we'd have this opportunity to actually reinforce some of the things we taught in class and then have you watch. So we have a cone here. So to do circles, you really need to know where your center is. And then a nice way to approach this is to have 4 imaginary points in this circle, and you're riding to those points with bend. So to establish bend with this horse, we first want the rider to look where they're going. And what I mean by look where they're going is turn their body slightly and in the direction of this circle. So as we look at this rider, we want her to slightly have her left shoulder over her left hip and have a nice alignment from her shoulder, hip, and her foot. If the rider is turning, in this case, to the right, we cannot expect this horse to bend very well to the left. Then her inside rein is going to create some bend in the neck, a little bit. Her inside leg is going to create bend in the rib cage. Her outside hand will control the shoulder, and her outside leg will control the size of the circle, as well as if the hip is falling out. If the hip is falling in, then we have the inside leg coming slightly back to push the hip out. Ideally, in a circle, in the type of circle we're demonstrating today, we want to see an even bend from pole to tail. We also want to see that the inside hind leg is tracking up to the inside foreleg, and the horse is staying on 2 very distinctive tracks. Let's say in this case we've got the left track and the right track. We don't want to see in this type of circle any kind of shoulder in or haunches in or out or shoulder out. We're trying just to do a circle with 2 tracks. This is much more complicated than one would think. The rider really needs to have control of their position in order to facilitate this circle. Okay, we're going to go ahead and have Paige trot. Ideally in the trot, if I left you here for an hour, I would see a nice circular trench. You're going to just go round and round and round. This is not only good for the rider to learn how to keep the horse between their hands and legs, but it's also a really good thing to do with young horses to teach them how you can control the 3 parts of the horse. So head, neck, and shoulder, rib cage, and hindquarter. So in doing these circles with a lot of repetition and consistency, you can actually teach these horses how to do really beautiful circle work. Circle work is really important because you do this in so many different disciplines. You will do this in any type of Western horsemanship patterns. You will do this in reining. You do a lot of circles. Western dressage, barrel racing even, you'll do circles, although they are quite smaller than this. So teaching a horse how to do nice bending circles is really a good thing to teach the horse. So we have a pretty good circle here. We're trying to make sure she's tracking the inside hind up to the inside fore. She swings a little bit as she goes toward the right as you watch this videotape. So, and what you'll find too sometimes is horses will maybe have a tendency to drift the shoulder out at parts of the circle, or they fall in at other parts of the circle, or they're really good at parts of the circle. But know that if the first circle you take, you find that they're doing something, let's say, falling in or something like that, they will do that the next time they hit that same part of the circle. So you can be proactive in getting this horse to stay in a nice circle. So probably as Paige approaches the right side of the circle, she might be having to use a little bit more right leg to bend at the rib cage, but then also hold her a little bit with the left leg in order to keep the mare from just drifting out. Now the other thing you could do with these circles is actually do what we call spiraling. So I'm going to have Paige spiral in. So each lap that she takes, it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, when you spiral in, you still want to try to maintain 2 tracks. And you saw the mare really throw her haunches out there. And this is really complicated. But it's a really good exercise to work on getting this horse to track up in 2 tracks and then keeping them in 2 tracks in a small bending circle. Really watch that you're not creating too much neck bend, that we're trying to have pole to tail bend. When we do this, we try to get them really small, and when we think that the horse can't do this anymore because it's so small, we'll actually push them out as a reward for working hard in this small circle. And so this rider is working pretty hard. She's using her legs and maybe pushing the rib cage out. She's holding her with her outside leg so the circle doesn't get too big, trying to keep the inside shoulder from falling in and trying to keep the outside shoulder from falling out. So this is, the rider's working pretty hard to get this little mare to do this. So now we'll have Paige actually spiral out. So again, you're still keeping the bend. You're pushing with your inside leg to encourage the horse to go out, but you still want to maintain this bend in this horse. Again, this is body bend, not just neck bend. So your inside rein isn't really doing very much other than reminding the horse to stay soft in the hands. You're doing a lot of this with your legs. Inside leg, pushing them out, inside leg, bending them, outside leg, determining the circle size and keeping the shoulder from falling out.